trees from our right, flown by owner Fred Ackery. Look at that lovely arrival there, gear down, and giving us a beautiful wave. Now this is the jet that every boy or girl would describe back in the day. If you said, draw me a jet fighter, there'd be swept wings and a swept tail. And this is the image of those dreams. Second generation transonic jet fighter and fighter bomber. It was originally designed to a 1944 specification for a jet-powered escort. I need to have a drink of water. And it was pretty much in the same vein as the North American P-51. Of course, produced by North American Aviation, and it is said correctly that North American has never built a bad aircraft from them. The T6 Texan or Harvard, the P-51, the B-25, through the F-86, the B-45 bomber, right the way up through to the XB-70 Valkyrie supersonic jet bomber. It's originally the North American Aviation leaned very heavily on the design of the FJ-1 Fury for the US Navy. Now that was supposed to be the first jet aircraft for the Navy, but it incorporated basically Mustang wings, straight wings. It wasn't until North American picked up the information that was obtained during Operation Paperclip. That was where the Americans, the British, the Russians, the French went through Germany and tried to pick up all of the technical information they could on jet aircraft, swept wings, rockets, that they came back with the design for the swept wing Sabre. Introduced in 1949 into the US Air Force. And went basically straight into North Korea when they invaded the South Korean peninsula in 1950. Americans had straight-wing jet aircraft, but the introduction of the MiG-15 changed the whole operation. The Russians using their German technology of swept wings and combining that, ironically, with the gifted Rolls-Royce Nene engine in that MiG-15, they had a real world beater. The F-86 was introduced, and that evened up the playing field, but it still did not disavow the skill of the Russian pilots. In fact, Russian aces scored more victories than the highest scoring Sabre aces. You had guys like Sutyagin, Yevgeny Popelyev, Ivan Kochtur. They were all people that came out of the Second World War as aces, particularly Ivan Kochtur. He was in charge of the air regiments fighting there. Chinese, North Koreans and Russians flew these MiGs. Look at the beautiful shape of that machine. Of course, there was a constant battle for technology back there. Of course, the Russians using their German technology, the Americans using their German technology. A crashed F-86 provided the North Koreans with the gun sight design and radar secrets to the Soviets, and they were later used in the MiG-17 against the Americans in Vietnam. The F-86F, fitted with a 5,910 pound thrust General Electric GE J47 turbojet. The aircraft had a combat radius of about 360 nautical miles with full load and two 200-gallon drop tanks. Armament was varied, but in the early parts consisted of 650 caliber machine guns, the same as fitted to the US fighter aircraft during the Second World War. They could also carry 5,300 pounds of bombs, rockets, napalm and drop tanks, and they were later fitted with the early versions of the AIM-9 Sidewinder infrared homing missile. Those Sidewinders have their technology going back to 1958, when during the conflict in the Taiwan Strait, the crisis between Taiwan and mainland China, the Taiwanese Sabres were clandestinely fitted with to test their efficiency. Pakistani Air Force was equipped with the F-86 and in 1954 claimed its first victory against an Indian Air Force Canberra bomber, and they were used in subsequent wars with India from 1959 to the early 1970s. There were two major developments of the Sabre, one by the Canadians, Canadair, and one by the Commonwealth Aircraft Corporation in Australia. Both involved the fitting of higher powered engines. In the case of the Canadians, the Orenda jet engine. And with the Australian Sabre, known as the Avon Sabre, the Rolls-Royce Avon fitted. It's incredible to think that the General Electric engine fitted in these about 5,700, 5,900 pounds thrust. And the Orenda engine versions, 7,500 pound thrust, and that's without any afterburner. The aircraft Red is displaying today is painted in a green camouflage experimental scheme that was utilised by the 461st Fighter Day Squadron in Germany during the 1960s. This aircraft was manufactured by Canadair in Montreal in 1958 and was one of just over 1,800 that they built in Canada. Mark 6 fitted with that Avro Canada Orenda engine. It served as one of 300 Sabres operated by the Luftwaffe in Oldenburg in Germany before conversion and operation as a target tug, and at one time it was with MBB in Germany. Beautifully demonstrated by Fred, well known on the UK and European airshow circuit, principally flying his beautiful P-51 Mustang, which he actually traded in part for this Sabre. Fred is a 17,000-hour Boeing 777 captain and instructor, a former member of the French aerobatic team, and he has been, as we said, an airshow display pilot for many years, Mustang, Sea Fury, and now the Sabre. said earlier, the Sabres that were flying in Korea were fitted with 6 50 caliber machine guns. Later on, the armament changed to various weaponry. 2 different sizes of drop tanks could be carried. The Sidewinder, definitely. Up to 10 5-inch air-to-ground rockets or pods containing multiple rockets. Became quite a potent weapon system. Last pass, ladies and gentlemen. Give Fred a great wave there, even though he's disappearing off into the distance. Wonderful performance there in the F-86 Sabre.